Hello and welcome to the fifth round of the Go-Kart Championship in 2018. We're at Filching Manor once again and we're starting here, the first race of three here today. Will starts on pole position, second place is myself, third place goes to my dad. Then in fourth place it is Will's dad, fifth place goes to Tom, sixth place goes to John, and in last place on the grid it is James. So we're looking for the lights for the first race of three here today at Filching Manor. On board my dad, then on board myself, and away we go here for this first race. And this is the first race that Will's actually competed in this season, as well as James and his dad as well. So this is interesting to see the pace for me as well. So down to the first corner, I slot in behind Will and I try and get the overlap to try and go on the outside. Will makes slight contact with the inside tyre wall, but he gets through there and leads this race for now. I'm sitting in second place, and I think Will's dad has made it up to third place here after a pretty decent start to get around the outside of my dad. I look to the inside straight away. Will's left a gap and I go through the inside to go side by side and take the lead of this race. Now John, my dad goes side by side and my dad goes for a spin as John makes slight contact with my dad there, and James goes for a spin avoidance as well, so very unfortunate there. And as I keep the lead at the top hairpin, I've managed to get the overtake done on Will, who started on pole position as I said and qualified 0.3 of a second ahead of me in qualifying, and I was a little bit disappointed not to be a little bit closer there. I felt like I put in some pretty good laps, but like always, you're gonna blame the kart. I didn't feel like the kart was quite underneath me here today, and I struggled a little bit in terms of pace. So up to the top here, him defending the inside line on the brakes as late as possible. Slight rear locking you can hear there on the power, but keeping the lead for now. We're also going to be putting massive pressure on me at this point here. And there's a yellow flag. Did it just come in? I think it just came in here as we're catching up to a spinner, and I think that is Will's dad. So Will's dad has made a mistake very early on in this race and has dropped all the way to last place here, and I'm coming up to lap him here, so hopefully he doesn't do anything too silly as we come to lap him here, because he should realise he's a lap down. He doesn't need to be fighting with us. Myself and Will and everyone behind, actually, it's not that spread out so far, except from obviously my dad, who goes for a spin, and so does James. But he just needs to not do anything too silly as we're catching him at quite a fast rate here. Of course, any sort of spin will slightly affect your confidence in the laps afterwards. So going up to the top hairpin here, we're not really in the slipstream because I'm defending more from Will. I'm just trying to nail that last run out of that last main corner to make sure I get a decent run down the straight. And if Will's not close enough, it's going to be hard to go around the outside because, you know, as long as I don't make a big mistake, I'm going to defend the inside line. So now we're coming up to catch Will's dad well and truly right up behind me now, and we're going to have to be thinking about going for an overtake. But where are we going to do it? Because he's definitely lighter than me in a straight line, so I've got to be wary of that. You can see I'm going pretty defensive here. I'm just checking over my shoulder there just to see where Will is. Nail the braking point as best as possible, but this is the worst case scenario really if you're leading a race. You don't want to catch lap traffic who's driving like absolutely crazy to just defend their position, because yeah, he's not going to give us up this position here. I tried to get a nice little run down the inside here, not quite enough. I'm just a little bit too heavy in that regard. Even though he slid through the corner, he still managed to have more speed than me on the exit, which is a tough thing to take really, but it's just that top speed. But he's blocking like crazy here. He doesn't want me to come through whatsoever. So up to the top hairpin, I keep my position for now, and yeah, lots of pressure on right now. I'm going to try and stay ahead as he goes through the left-hander. Oh, he's so slow through there. I catch up so much ground through there, and through this last corner I'm really getting hampered now because he's really defending the inside line. So I'm not really sure what to do in this regard. I'm struggling. I really am struggling, and I know Will probably saw me making a slight mistake there. I ran a little bit wide, and Will's got his nose down the inside. I'm going to try and brake a little bit later on the brakes as late as I dare, and just about get it steer into the corner slightly ahead of Will there. That's just braking as late as possible and just about managing to hold Will off for now, but so close, but it's just not happening. We're getting really held up at this regard now. So on board with my dad, who's had a fantastic couple of laps here, and even though he made contact with John in the early stages of this race, he's managed to pretty much catch up to the back of John here. And Tom also doing a pretty good job here today. This is Tom C, not Tom L, who's normally racing. This is Tom C, who's done one round in this season already at Brooklands, but Tom C's doing pretty well. But look at this. good try around the outside there from my dad. Couldn't quite get the overtake done here, but John doesn't quite have the pace here today. Now back on board with myself here, and we're going to go out to the top hairpin. I don't quite have an overlap once again. I'm faster by the end of the straight, and then finally he leaves the gap down the inside. He was blocking me one way and the next, and as soon as I tried to go to the outside, he tried to block the outside, which left a gap on the inside and allowed me through. So there we are, got past the lap traffic, and we're clear road in front of us once again. So now I need to put the hammer down. I assume most likely Will's just followed me straight through there, which obviously you'd hope he would be able to here, so we can have a nice battle for the lead of this race. But I need to go into defensive mode once again. So now back on board with my dad here. He's chasing down John here very quickly. Is he going to get the inside line? There's a gap down the inside, and I think he might have done it down the inside. And it looks like that's the position gained there for my dad. Now back on board myself, and I made a slight mistake. Will poked his nose down the inside, which is well and truly it's well and truly up to him to do so, and he did a great job. He put me off there. I made a slight mistake. I hesitated on the turn into the corner, and what's happening here? Will's dad, he's squeezing me, he's just pushing me. That is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable behaviour there. He knew I was there, and he just kept squeezing me. Absolutely pathetic driving there to push me into the tyre wall there. I honestly couldn't believe that, and that's one of obviously the most scariest things I've ever happened to me in a go-kart, but just absolutely pathetic there, because he knew I was there and he just kept squeezing me. So what do you want me to do? I was like locked into his car well and truly for about 10 metres before it, and I couldn't get out of it. Even though I wanted to, I couldn't get out of it at that stage, so I was fuming at that stage. I was like, just what an absolute idiot. That was just a completely unnecessary crash there. And yeah, luckily I wasn't injured, but it was a heavy hit. And quite a bit of bruising after that. But obviously, you could understand I was quite frustrated with that. And I apologise to the marshals for destroying the tyre wall there. Completely not their fault, of course, but yeah, very frustrating times for me here. But back on board my dad here. He's got himself up into a good position here. And I think this is third place, or I can't remember now. No, actually Tom's in third place. So Tom's ahead of all this. Tom's actually not that far behind me. Unfortunately, we did have a camera on Tom, but the camera didn't really work too well. So Tom's actually doing a really good job. He's actually in third place right now. That's Tom C. He's having pretty good pace. He's pulled away quite drastically from my dad and John, who are battling for fourth place here. So there's the checker flag. Very disappointed on board camera me here. And yeah, I'm seething under the helmet right now, but I had the cooldown lap to cool down, quite literally, and I did. And on board with John, he won't be too happy with that race there. He'll be quite disappointed that he, even though my dad had the spin, they had the contact, he didn't manage to really do such a good job in that race. He lost quite a bit of time there. So there's the final standings. Will leads. Will wins, I should say, 13 laps. I was 8.7 seconds behind. Tom C was actually quite close to overtaking me after that crash. You probably saw him as I looked around. There were tyres all over the track, and you probably actually saw Tom just behind me there. He was about 2 or so seconds behind me. So once I regathered my self back on the track, I managed to pulled away a couple of seconds once again, but he was 12.9 seconds back from Will. My dad was 17.5 seconds back from Will. John was 22 seconds back from Will. James just got lapped right in the final stages by Will to put him 1 lap down. And P7 went to Will's dad after a very up and down race for him. He had a good start, but then obviously spun it on the opening laps, and then yeah, the mother of all contacts with me there. Now, of course, I'll be a bit biased, but I just feel like it was completely unneeded, that accident. He didn't want to give me any space whatsoever, and that was the resulting crash from it. So we move on. Luckily, I wasn't injured, and luckily the tyre wall could be replaced or repaired very quickly. But I apologise to the marshals for them having to do that. Really, they shouldn't have to do that because that was just crazy behaviour there. So, second race of the day, it's the standings from the first race to set the grid here. So pole positions Will, second place is myself. I'm really trying to get payback here, get redemption. Third place is Tom, who had a great first race there to get a podium. Fourth place is my dad. Fifth place is John, sixth place is James, and starting at the back of the grid, it is Will's dad. So, Here we are, looking to the lights, and we are go for the second race of the day here. I get a pretty decent start. This time I'm going side by side with Will. Actually, I get a better start in this race than I did in the first race. Now up to the first corner, on board with John, and what is this? Oh my, Will's dad just doesn't brake into the first corner, uses Tom as a brake. Once again, he just, like, what is going on here? That's just absurd. Doesn't need to be doing that in the first lap of the race. You can't win the race in the first corner there. So Will leads, I'm second. My dad had a pretty good start here into third place. Tom must have dropped down to fifth place, I think, now, after Will's dad must have got through into fourth. So up to the top hairpin, I'm defending as well as attacking at the same time here. So I defend the inside line and go to the middle of the track to try and get a slightly better run through the corner. But yeah, I'm trying to put the pressure on Will. I know that every time I make him defend, I'm just able to make pace with him, but I knew Will had a little bit of a pace advantage in me throughout this session here, so I just needed to try and maximise all the tools available to me here and just try and do a good job here. So my dad is doing a really fantastic job in the opening stages here, and he's not really having to take the defensive line as of yet, because Will's dad isn't quite close enough to go for an overtake, but hasn't stopped doing in the past. So back on board with John now, who's trying to get past Tom. He might be slightly, shooken up after the first couple of laps, because obviously getting smashed into at turn one is never a great thing. John is trying to chase down Tom here, who might be a little bit slower than he was in the first race after now falling behind Will's dad and my dad as well. So Tom's went from third to fifth in the opening stages of this race. Up to the top hairpin, John's going to have to try and be slightly wary here that he isn't overtaken by James, who is following him quite closely here, but not too shabby start there from John. He just needs to try and get a bit closer to Tom here in the next couple of laps to try and take some positions here and try and gain some time. But now I get a pretty decent run through the last corner. I'm side by side with Will once again, am I? I think that was just enough of an overlap that I could go side by side with Will, and up to the top hairpin. He's actually ahead. He could cut across me here, but he left the space, and of course I'm going to do it, but then I just couldn't steer in the braking zone, like in the turning zone. I don't know really what happened there, but I say sorry to Will, give him the position back, and yeah, I don't go for crazy moves. Well, that wasn't really a crazy move, but I don't know what happened. I guess it was just such a tight line through the corner. The kart just couldn't steer, and that's why my kart got slightly locked in with Will's. And now side by side, my dad versus Will's dad through the last corner. We don't really call it a corner, that one, because it's basically flat out. And now Will's dad's made it up to third place here, and now my dad's going to try and do his best to get through this here and try and get that third position back. Now on board with John. He's slightly lost time here to Tom. He's going to really need to up the pace over the next couple of laps, because that's quite a drastic fall off here from John over these last couple of laps. Maybe it might be the kart here today, because John is normally quite competitive around Filching here. This is the track that he's definitely got the most experience at, and he's struggling here. It's quite easy to see here he's struggling with the pace here, and it's quite clear that he's normally there or thereabouts with my dad, but here today the kart seems very, very slow, so that's quite unfortunate for John. So I'm going to go back on board my dad here. He seems to be having the most interesting battle in this race so far, as he's really putting the pressure on Will's dad. Is he going to be able to get him here? He's got a better run through the corner, but Will's dad's pretty light, so he should get the better run. And my dad goes to the inside here. I'm not sure whether he's aware, because Tom is quite close behind him here, so he might not be fully aware about that, but he's going to just keep on the attack for now. Maybe if Tom sees a possibility, he might try and go for the overtake here. So it's really close here. I think my dad is definitely the faster driver right now, but maybe just wasn't quite aggressive enough to keep the position. He's really putting the pressure on here through the last couple of corners. He's doing a good job. He's definitely got the better lines here, as Will's dad is just defending all over the track here. But it's going to be hard, because my dad definitely has the weight disadvantage here, but he's still doing a fantastic job up to the top hairpin. He's putting the pressure on, and so far Will's dad hasn't cracked, but we'll see what happens. So now I'm bored with myself here. I'm trying to do my best to put the pressure on Will, and he's run slightly wide through there, which means, oh, he's jammed on the brakes through the last corner. That slightly confused me. I was going to try and do the undercut there, but I've gone around the outside there. I've tried something a little bit different. Now up to the top hairpin. I'm going to just about have enough of an overlap to go through into the lead this race. Then on the brakes, I suddenly have a problem. This is where I'm just going to be quiet for a second. You're going to listen to the kart. Well, what I didn't know at the time was I had a clutch issue. The clutch started slipping like absolute crazy, which meant I really struggled from this point onwards. And we've got about half of this race remaining. So this is where the race got tough for me. So having to deal with clutch issues as we go on board with my dad, and he's made a slight mistake and actually half spun it. Tom has managed to go through there. So that's a bit of an unfortunate error for my dad there. He's putting the pressure on Will's dad. He's doing a really good job, but unfortunately maybe pushing a little bit too hard in that regard and lost a bit of time there through a half spin. So now on board myself. Listen once again. Listen especially through this top hairpin. Ooh, it's close. Oh, it's so painful to listen to it. It's so painful to listen to it. The clutch is slipping. Oh my goodness. This is painful watching it back here. I'm so slow at this stage here. I'm so slow. There's nothing I can do. It's making such a racket as well in the car. I have no idea what's going on. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what Will thought was happening at this stage as well, because he was close to me, obviously. You've seen him. He was attacking me on the last lap, but it was getting louder and louder every single lap, and it was especially distinct at the top hairpin. And yeah, it was not nice. I have no idea what's happening. You don't know, especially someone. I'm not, mechanically gifted in that regard, so I had no idea what was happening. I was like, is this car going to blow up? It sounds absolutely terrible. And Will gets past me here. There's nothing I can do. I'm so slow in a straight line, and he goes through and gets me. On board with my dad. Last lap of this race, I think. And oh no! A spin! The last lap of this race. Back on board myself here. Then back on board with John. John has gone past my dad. He's going to want that for the championship. That's going to be great. And up to the start-finish line, I'm all over the place like, what's happening? I couldn't believe it. I've lost it on the last lap of the race. I was absolutely gutted. This was the race that got away for me. That was the race that got away. Of all the races this season, of all the races maybe in the whole championship, I should have won, and I didn't. It was this race here today, and I was absolutely gutted. So, unfortunately for my dad, he's going to come home in last place here. But we'll run down the order. First place went to Will, so he'll be happy with that one. Second place managed to go to myself even after all that drama at the end. Will's dad finished in 5th place after a clean-ish race. 4th place went to Tom after a very good race, to be fair to him. 5th place went to John, 16 seconds behind. Then James just behind him. Then my dad finished 22 seconds back after, of course, a tough race for him there. So, there we are. That result was supposed to be reversed, but it didn't really work like that, because that's not how the timings work, because they do it as an overall session, and as the front two got lapped in the first race, they actually started the front of this one. So it's James on pole from Will's dad, from my dad, I think from John or Tom. As we go up to the top hairpin here, it looks like James is going to lead this race as we go into the first corner here. So let's see. James hasn't had a particularly strong first time back in go-karts after a little while out, but he managed to keep the lead for now. Will's dad in 2nd position. 3rd place is my dad. 4th place is myself, who we're on board with right now. And I'm not exactly sure what's going on behind me now. So it was initially John here. John was in 5th position here, but he's side by side. I think this is with Will. We'll see in a second. No, it's Tom. So Tom goes through and Will goes through as well at the same time. There is it going to be 3 wide up to the top hairpin. As we go through a top hairpin, my dad goes through into 2nd place there, getting past James, which is a good job here. So we've reignited now the battle that happened in the 2nd race of the day. It was pretty interesting to see throughout. It was Will's dad versus my dad. It was close throughout in the race, and then my dad made a small mistake trying to push a bit too hard and lost a bit of time there. So up to the top hairpin. Surely my dad has the pace advantage. He knows where he made the mistake last time, so let's try and see whether this happens again. But I think my dad knows he's definitely got the pace advantage over Will's dad, but it's just whether he can get the overtake done, because he knows Will's dad is definitely lighter and down the straight, and the main overtaking opportunity, it's going to be tough. So on board myself here, I sort of didn't want to get involved in this battle because I was interested, but at the same time I wanted to get a win, and that was a bit of a silly move there. I should have known the gap was always going to disappear, and if anything, I just messed up my own run down this straight here. I went for a gap that was never really wide enough to really fully benefit from. So I'm going to stay in behind for now, and just hopefully things will go my way in the next couple of laps here. So, through the last corner. This is the last... It's not really the last corner. It's even like the third to last corner, second to last corner. I don't know. But anyway, we are down the inside finally. We get a better run. I think my dad was slightly held up there from Will's dad, and I managed to get the overtake down up to the top hairpin. My dad slots in behind just behind me and up to the top hairpin. It's Will's dad. Second place is myself. Third place is Will now. Was there contact there? I don't know. Did Will make slight contact with my dad? And James gets past as well there. So my dad... Is that slight problems with the go-kart as well? So, yeah, my dad's had the pace here today, but unfortunately it's just all seemed to have gone against him. Now I'm board with John. He's going to try and get an overtake down the inside of Tom. It's side by side. John, he hasn't had too much racing action here today, but that's a much better run down the inside from him. And he's going to get the overtake done. He's got past Tom here, and he's got himself up to 6th position. So good stuff there. And now you can see in front, my dad is starting to close down on James and try and get past him. It's going to be an interesting battle over the next couple of laps to see which one of those two comes out in front, because I think my dad, as you can see on board now, is definitely faster. He managed to catch right back up to him, and in fact James runs wide side by side here. You put your bet to my dad to get past, and he does down the inside. Good stuff there. My dad gets back through, and that's 4th position once again now, because Will's dad leads. I'm in 2nd place, as we can see here. 3rd place is Will, and the 4th place is my dad. 5th place is James. 6th place is John, and 6th place is John, and 7th place is James. So I'm looking one way or the next. I've got to back out of it there, because I was probably going to end up in the tyre wall there. So once again, I know what's going to happen here. I know I'm not going to get any centimetre given, so I'm going to have to be quite opportunistic with my overtakes here. I'm going to have to try and place the go-kart properly. I knew that Will was quite close behind me as well, so I knew that I couldn't do anything too silly. But of course you can see here the amount of speed and the amount of lefting off I've got to do around this lap to just sort of not smash into the back of him is really slowing me up here. And I've got the better line I'm definitely quicker, but I just can't seem to get the overtake done. I'm going to look around the outside, sorry. And Will completely misses his braking point there and goes for a spin, half spin, I'm not too sure. But unfortunately for him, that's going to have lost Will a little bit of time there. So John, it's interesting to see what he's doing in this race here. He's definitely improved the pace in this race. He struggled immensely in the first 2 races here, and he's in a big battle in the championship between himself and my dad, which could actually end up being for 2nd place in the championship, because Tom L has actually missed this round. It wasn't by he didn't want to. He actually forgot that the round was on. He forgot the scheduled date, unfortunately. So Tom L that is missed this round by accident, and he was actually supposed to be racing. So that was a bit disappointing for him, and that's obviously going to be quite costly for the championship. And we'll see the standings at the end of this race and how that's all played out here. So my dad's doing pretty good after Will's made a mistake. You can see he's actually not too far away from here, but I'm really putting the pressure on now for the lead of this race. I knew we're not that far away from the end of this one here, not too many laps to go, so I'm going to have to make an overtake when I can see one. And he's very slow through here. I've gone down the inside, and well, I don't know what happened there. He was very slow through the corner. I had to move down the inside, and he's gone off the track actually, and he's pulled out right in front of my dad without really looking around him here. So now my dad's trying to go on the outside, and oh my goodness, nearly contact there. He's putting the old squeeze on him again. Robust racing, to say it the finest. So up to the top hairpin once again. My dad's trying to finally get some revenge and get past Will's dad here for a position. But yeah, I mean, talking about my overtake, I went for it down the inside. There was a clear gap, and yeah, he decides to turn into the corner, and I guess he bounced off my car. I mean, I didn't feel any contact. I mean, you could see what happened earlier. Will did exactly the same move to me, and we both went through the corner side by side, and Will got through, but he must have kept his foot in there and just flown off into the grass. So I guess it's probably his fault there. He probably should have just backed out of it. He should have seen that I was alongside and backed out of it in that regard. Slightly different to the one where he's purposely pushing me into the tyre wall. I wasn't purposely pushing him onto the grass. I think that was pretty clear to see. So up to the start-finish line, there's the checker flag. A pretty close finish there, and my dad, oh wow, really, just completely cutting him. I don't know what to say at this point. Very silly driving there from Will's dad. Unfortunately, it was quite robust throughout, but we'll leave it there. We'll leave it at that. So I won that race. I was so happy with that. I thought that was a good race. 13 laps on the board, 3.2 seconds ahead of Will. Will's dad was 7.2 seconds back, and my dad was 7.4 seconds back. James was 11 seconds back. John was only a further 2 seconds back, 13 behind, and Tom finished 13.8 behind there. So John might be a little bit disappointed not to grab those extra points. But this is how the championship standings look after that round here. So Tom missing that round, Tom L, that is, really helped me out in the championship, but I was obviously a bit gutted because I really wanted this close championship battle, and unfortunately that sort of slipped away a little bit now, obviously, after Tom's missed some rounds here. So I'm leading on 171, my dad's on 115, John's on 102, so it's still quite viable here. If I miss a round, which there's a high likelihood I might be missing one of these rounds, that I might lose that championship lead. It might come down at least considerably. So 171, 115 to 102 is the top three. Then Tom L on 80, Tom C on 60, Will's on 47, George is on 41, Will's dad's on 25, James on 19, and then Phil is on 13. So there we are. A lot of drama in this one, and hopefully you did enjoy the video. It's all over the place, really. There was a lot of action in this one, and then it's hard to comprehend it, really. But it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy, but I was personally happy to get the win. It was really good racing wheel to wheel with Will for this whole time. You might not know, but I lost quite a lot of weight over the last sort of 18 months or so. And yeah, I never used to be able to race with Will properly, but now we're closer to being the same weight. It's much easier to have a good battle with him, because before he'd just fly past me in a straight, I'm like, oh. But yeah, myself and Will are always really close in terms of times, especially now after the weight loss. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Happy with the win at the end there. Bit gutted about having a problem with the go-kart in the second race to not manage to get that one as well. But it's one of those things. Maybe I just got a bit of redemption in that final race. Maybe it was meant to be. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day. Please remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys all around next time. Goodbye.